ايه الامور كويس. اكثر من كذا. ايه جربت. نسيت العرض.
السلام عليكم.
السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
اللي في الرياض سامعيني؟ المكاتب اونلاين. السلام عليكم.
السلام ورحمة الله.
معكم شهد المالكي. اليوم إن شاء الله أول فيرست توك عندنا. راح نبدأ اليوم مع أخونا حاتم الغامدي من بيور كونسلتنج. he took this program قريب في مدريد، راح وأخذ البروجرام هذا، فإن شاء الله he's gonna share this knowledge with us. Welcome.
يعطيك الف عافية. Thank you so much. طبعا thank you everyone for attending this session, and extreme thank you and gratitude for the HR team. تعبوا مرة كثير سواء في مرحلة going to Madrid to take the course، دانا يعطيها العافية، و setting up this whole thing شهد المالكي يعطيها العافية. طيب today I'll take you very briefly على what يعني خلينا نقول my main takeouts من الكورس. كان في أشياء مرة كثير. It was not يعني خلينا نقول structured بطريقة خلينا نقول very smooth to transfer، لأنه it was like on 2 weeks time between virtual and in class. But I tried my best to, let's say, summarize the most important things and learnings in the course. So we're going to start with the situation overview. A situation overview of the world currently. ايش قاعد يصير في العالم? Do we need actually to change or not? If we did not change, what's going to happen? What's the impact that's going to happen on the world? And second of all, we're going to talk about the introduction of Sustainable Development Goals, the SDG frameworks, how it starts, how is it actually being adopted widely by several companies around the world. Then we're going to talk a little bit on hands-on strategy frameworks. How can I take this ESG framework and apply it to my own business? And lastly, we're going to talk briefly about one of the case studies of a Greyston bakery in the United States and how they actually started to take initiatives toward ESG. So first of all, we'll talk about the situation overview بشكل جدا سريع. As you can see here in the charts from the 1850s to 2020. 1850s يعني غالبا هي الستارت of the third industrial revolution او الثوره الصناعيه. فخلال ال 150 سنه صار في انكريز في درجات حراره السيرفس في الارض بشكل مخيف كومبيرد لسنوات من 500 من from 500 AC. فيعني الانسان سبحان الله يعني دمر الكوكب بطريقه جدا عجيبه. درجات الحراره ارتفعت from 0 to 1.5 almost. طبعا this is due to الانكريز المهول في عدد الغازات الصادره عن سواء التصنيع، تقطيع الاشجار، الديفورستيشن، اشياء مره كثير. ففي different types of gases. الغازز هذه اثرت على درجات حراره الارض بشكل جدا كبير. طيب someone is going to tell us طيب ارتفعت درجات الحراره then so what? So what's the impact that's going to happen on planet Earth? هذا شيء يسمونه global mean temperature increase. في 4 different scenarios. This has been developed by the UN. فعندنا policies in action, which is basically the current situation. So if everything stays as is, what's going to happen? درجات الحراره in 2100, which is not very far away, maybe not our generation but our children's generation, it's going to increase by a mean of 2.7, 3.6 to plus 2 degrees centigrade, plus or minus. طيب, what's the second scenario? The second scenario is if we achieve 2030 targets that are already set in stone, it will increase by 2.4, plus or minus 3 and 1.9. What if we actually achieved كل التارجتس الموجوده الان مع البلدجز اللي طلعت مع الكونتريز؟ we're going to achieve 2.1. طبعا the most optimistic scenario اللي هو if we took into consideration كل الاناونسمنت اللي طلعت من الكونتريز we're going to achieve 1.8. This is the very optimistic خلينا نقول scenario that the UN thinks of currently. Let's assume that nothing changed. We said that we don't want to change. Everything is great as is. What's going to happen? Sorry. بكل بساطة at the first scenario 3.5 degrees. This is Shanghai now. This is Shanghai in 2100, completely under the water. This is New York now. This is New York at 3.5 degrees in 2100, under the water. (2100), which is like 80 years down the road. This is Wall Street now. يا عمار. All right. So this is Wall Street now, and this is Wall Street at 3.5 degrees centigrade, if we did not change anything. Submarines are going to be there. ها؟ والله خلاص. طيب, not only this, areas burnt by summer wildfires are going to double. Half insects are going to lose 50% of their habitat. So imagine ايش التشينجز اللي حتصير في الطبيعه وفي الايكو سيستم if those things actually happen. طبعا هذه لمحه جدا سريعه عن السيتويشن, لانه في ناس مره كثيرين they don't actually buy in the necessity for change. So you need to actually show them that this is really critical, this is really happening. It's affecting like the next generation, which is your children, if you are in our age. So we really need to take this seriously. طبعا ايش الافورتس اللي صارت in order for us to achieve this؟ في multiple efforts صارت. اولها طبعا اللي هو ال ESG. ESG was adopted in 2004. Group of bankers راحوا للUN, اشتغلوا معاهم على framework to start moving companies toward adopting things that are, let's say, more viable in addressing environmental crisis. So they came up with the ESG framework, which is basically environment, social, governance. They thought that if we need to actually address those issues, we need to think about it from 3 different strategic perspectives, or as Hisham likes to call it, the المناظير الاستراتيجية. المناظير الاستراتيجية here are environment, social, and governance. What do they want to do around the environment? They want to address climate change, air and water pollution, biodiversity, deforestation, so forth and so on. When it comes to social, at all levels, employees engagement, labor standards, gender and diversity, the community relations, and everything that is related to societies. When it comes to governance, طبعا governance here will act as more of an enabler. In order for you to make sure that the conglomerate companies, multinationals, do those things and they're not actually lying about it, you need to put proper governance in place. So board composition, audit committee structures, bribery and corruption, so forth and so on. طيب, ال ESG صار في 2004, بس ال ESG was not vastly adopted at that time, and it was not a trend like it is nowadays. ايش صار بعدها؟ صار اجتماع باريس, France, 2015, where all the countries around the world sat in Paris in 2015 and said, we need to do something about this. ايش اللي صار؟ They came up with the Sustainable Development Goals, which are 17 goals. They compose the strategy of the world. So this is the world strategy when it comes to environment and social aspects. طبعا you would see it and say, you know what, those are so many, nobody's going to buy into it. Let's just take one step back and think about the Millennium Development Goals, which were the previous version of those Sustainable Development Goals. One of those was child mortality. They wanted to address child mortality back then. What do you think of it now? Exactly. So child mortality are decreasing بشكل مخيف. It's not anymore an issue. So they really actually managed to solve this. Compacting HIV/AIDS. Back in the 1990s, it was a real crisis. Nowadays, you barely hear of it. So those actually things that if taken seriously by countries, they actually move the needle and make an impact. So those Sustainable Development Goals, no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water, affordable and clean energy, decent work environment, industry innovation, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities, responsible consumption, climate action, life under the water, life on land, peace and justice, partnerships for achieving those goals. طيب هل هذه الجولز بشكل جدا عام وما صار لها دريلينج داون؟ لا، هذه الجولز كل جول منها تحته actual objectives, actual KPIs tracked by the UN and multiple MBOs around the world. The 169 specific targets, 232 unique indicators of progress. طيب now كان عندنا ال ESG في 2004. فال ESG في 2004 was not vastly adopted as we said. Now came in the SDGs in the picture. After the SDGs came in the picture, this ESG exploded vastly and it started to get adopted by so many companies. Why? Because simply those SDGs were framed within the ESG letters. So many companies started to track them. So many companies started to adopt them. We have the Dow Jones Sustainability Indices, S&P Sustainability Indices, all companies that actually track التصنيف الائتماني للشركات صارت تراك ESG. صار في شيء called ESG investment, which are basically responsible investing. So if you're investing in a company, you're not actually only doing valuation on the financial metrics, you're actually taking into consideration whether this country is being harmful to the environment or not. طيب هنا بشكل جدا عام قلنا ايش السيتويشن اللي صارت وايش الجلوبال براكتسز that have been conducted in order for us to address السيتويشن اللي حاصل الان. طيب what about me? How can I actually contribute to this if I'm a business owner or let's say an employee that is working in strategy, working in sustainability departments? We have some frameworks here to start taking this and put it into perspective. First of all, what are the different types of entities that actually care about what we're talking about? We have four different types of entities. We have governmental entities. Their main role is around policy making, making sure that all those entities from the private sector are actually putting their money where their mouth is. They're actually delivering on their promises and achieving their minimum requirements for indices المطلوبة by different legislation around the world. The second type is the non-profit organization, which are NPOs. They're concerned about contributing. Some of them are concerned about contributing to this agenda, and some of them are responsible of being a third party and measuring this impact. So for example, أغلب شركات التصنيف الائتماني are NPOs. أغلب الشركات that track nuclear emissions are NPOs, so forth and so on. The third type is social enterprises. في lots of confusion that happened between social enterprises and NPOs, and what's the difference? The difference basically is NPOs take charity, social enterprises they don't take charity. So social enterprises businesses قائمة بذاتها, they make their own money, however they spend it in social causes. And طبعا الجزء الرابع private sector, which you already know, this is your conventional private sector. طيب طبعا احنا we are concerned about those two types today, which are the social enterprises and private sector, because those are less complicated وواضح بالضبط بالنسبه لنا ايش الرول حقهم, and we discussed this earlier. First of all, social enterprises. What are the types of social enterprises that we have today? We have almost 5 different types of social enterprises. We have the fee for service model, which is basically I'm a company, I'm trying to create products to cater for a specific segment of the society. So for example, إذا في منتج معين قاعد ينباع بسعر معين, I come in as a social enterprise, slash the costs, try to sell to those people in need. So this is one type. The second type is the service subsidization model, which is basically I'm serving the market, طبيعي. However, I'm subsidizing my let's say prices for a target population, which are people in need. The third type is the entrepreneur support model. What is the entrepreneur support model? It's basically I'm the social enterprise, and here is the market. I'm playing the intermediary role. So أبسط مثال الأسرة المنتجة. So social entrepreneur, I'll sell to الأسرة المنتجة. The أسرة المنتجة are going to take my product. They're going to develop some value creation, sell it back to the market at higher prices, so we can actually move the economy utilizing segments هذه من society. Then we have the employment model. What's the employment model? Is basically me as a social, and this is our case study today. Me as a social enterprise, I'm going to actually accommodate for those people, which are the people in need, and I'm going to hire them, and we together create value to the market. آخر شيء طبعا اللي هو market intermediary model, which is basically the social enterprise will be in the middle. People in need are going to create some sort of خلينا نقول products بدائية. Then the social enterprise are going to come, add more value to it, then sell it to the markets. So هذه الخمسة أنواع من السوشيال انتربرايزز بشكل جدا عام الموجودة. طبعا في أنواع أخرى بس هذه خلينا نقول most 5 dominant ones. طيب, moving from the social enterprises and what they're actually doing to private sector and how we can actually create an impact as part of private sector, because it's really the most critical part في الإيكويشن هذه كلها. Those are the people who are making all the change. طيب, if I'm a private sector owner or someone working in strategy, why would I be concerned to actually adopt those ESG frameworks? You have 7 different stakeholders that you have to actually cater for. First of all is employees, appealing to different segments of employees. Maybe هذه قبل 10 سنين أو 20 سنة it was not as critical as now, but nowadays people in California, if you are 23 years old, you're not going to be employed to someone who's making bad impact to the environment. Well, not only in California, we're actually seeing it nowadays here in Saudi Arabia. رند بنت خالد كانت معنا على مشروع طاقة. I was explaining how we're going actually to pursue this, and she was really excited. I told her, يعني, okay, I understand, and we're doing something good for the environment. So this is something that you did not used to actually hear from young adults toward caring that much about the environment, what's going to happen towards the future generation. Now it's becoming a trend. So if you want to hire good calibers, you have to watch your ESG indices. The second thing is catastrophic risks, which is lowering the probability and impact of being affected by catastrophic risk by actually adopting all the mechanism of ESG, especially the environment ones within your workplace. So for example, if you are working, if you are actually running a manufacturing facility or a plant, and you're not actually investing in the safety precautions, precautions that you need to put in place, if any catastrophic events happen, you're going to lose your capital. And the third one is the license to operate, which is basically your public image. Fourth one is your customers. Again, same example for employees. However, now your customers. So if you're not doing a great impact towards environment, those stakeholders might start leaving you. طبعا the fifth one, which is very crucial nowadays, are financial institutions. Financial institutions around the world started to take ESG metrics and indices to actually rate the companies. So If you're not doing good when it comes to AEC indices, you might get actually your loan at a higher interest rate, or you might not get your loan from financial institutions. So في huge risk on the funding here. طبعا technological innovation made it extremely easier for companies to actually adopt ESG. It became cheaper, it became accessible في الماركت بشكل جدا كبير. And آخر واحدة طبعا هي globalization. Globalization basically made it harder for multinationals to lie. So for example, if you are B&G and you're operating in Angola and you're actually violating the environment هناك, like 30-40 years nobody is going to know about it. Nowadays everyone is going to know about it. So standards that you're applying in ESG in the United States has to be the same in Angola, or that might actually يعني diminish all the returns that you're going to get from other stakeholders. فهذه نظرة عن why you need to adopt ESG as a private sector company. Now let's talk strategy. طيب, and we decided والله إن we want to actually pursue something good for the environment and start taking ESG seriously. What are we going to do? Now we have here a matrix of performance and sensibility. What do we mean by performance and sensibility? Sensibility is how much you care and you sense for the environment as a company, and performance is how much are you doing to actually deliver on this. The minimum is set to be here, which is taking the low road. Basically, whatever the government is going to put on me as policies, I'm going to adopt those, work by those, do nothing else. Break the law is out of the question, which is actually going against what the government is saying. So basically taking the law. The one after it is wait and see, which is basically I'm going to adopt those. I'm going to make myself a little bit, let's say, more accommodating of new trends that are going to come in, but I'm not going to actually move forward towards adopting it even further. The one after it is the show and tell. Here is the Unilever, for example. I'm going to adopt all ESG indices. I'm going to brag about it to actually attract talents, customers, and all other stakeholders. The one after it is keep quiet, which is I'm going to do everything. I'm going to go the extra mile, and I'm not going to speak about it. Someone might wonder why. لأنه there is a term nowadays called greenwashing. Lots of companies are being accused of greenwashing, meaning حيتصيدوا لك. If you are actually saying إنه brag about إنه I'm doing great for the environment, they will start picking on the small details, make it a big deal in the media, and ruin your entire reputation. So some companies are preferring to stay quiet actually, and one example of this is Nestle. Nestle actually is doing better than Unilever when it comes to sustainability. However, they're shutting up. They don't want anyone to know. Nowadays, they started to take the show and tell, let's say, approach a little bit, but however, they're on the keep quiet side more. The last two strategies on adopting ESG are the think ahead and the pay for principle. What is think ahead? It's basically I'm going to take كل minimum requirements of ESG. I'm going to go to the extra mile, and I'm going to anticipate what's going to come in the future, and I'm going to adopt it from now. Clear example to that is Tesla, for example. So Tesla is thinking what's going to happen in 2070, which is replacing the cars اللي موجودة اليوم by electrical cars. I'm going to adopt it today. So this is Tesla. The last one is paying for principle. Those are the good guys. So basically, I'm going to take a burden of the higher costs of products, and I'm going to make my customers pay a premium to actually serve the environment. طبعا we clearly don't have a huge multinational doing this, but we have Patagonia, which is it's a clothing manufacturer. Patagonia, it's a clothing manufacturer in Europe. They're actually taking this pay for principle approach because this one depends on the owner, the business owner, or the main shareholders. If the main shareholders want to pursue environment, the whole company is going to pursue environments. So those are the overall strategies. Now to the strategic frameworks. Right. I want to adopt it. I decided which one I want to be. How am I going to actually put this on paper and draft my strategy? You need to start from your business strategy. So what's the value chain of my business? What's my business strategy and strategic direction on the long term? What are the areas where I can pursue initiatives targeting ESG? You start from here, then you start defining what are your target groups. So you want to pursue ESG. For whom? Why? You want to do it for your employees, you want to do it for your customers, for financial institutions. You define exactly who your target is. Then you start taking ال SDGs 17 اللي قسمناها على ال ESG framework وتشوف البرايورتيز حقت البزنس حقتك وتشوف بعدين how you can marry both. You say, for example, if you are let's say a food manufacturer, so you're going to take SDG حق no hunger as a priority. If you're a submarine manufacturer or a fishing company, you're going to take the SDG of life under the water as a main priority, strategic thrust. Then you're going to take those strategic thrusts and SDGs priorities, and you're going to go one level down. Okay, those are the top levels that I want to work on. What am I doing to actually achieve on those targets of the world? You build your own strategic objectives, focusing on those priorities. Then you set your KPIs as a business to actually measure continuous improvement towards your targets. Then you start developing your initiatives. What are the actual initiatives that are going to achieve your objectives in the strategy? طبعا هذا كان اغلب الشركات ممكن تسويه اليوم او they think it is the case, however not necessarily. مع اخر واحد من عندي which is financial impact. I took another course to know how to assess the financial impact. حسيت في gap in what they're actually given. معلش يعني اذا if you're actually saving the planet and your business is going bankrupt يعني يعطيك العافيه. ف that's not what you want to do. So you need to assess financial impact. Nowadays there are lots of ways in financial modeling where you can actually assess the initiative impact on your P&L and your cash flows. So you might actually save money and create additional value and money utilizing ESG investments. And we're going to see maybe in our case strategy how it's going to be done. And there are financial models enabling you how and exactly how to do that mathematically. I can share it with anyone after the session if interested. فهذا framework استراتيجي بشكل سريع on how you actually address your ESG strategy. Lastly طبعا ESG case study. This is Greyston Bakery. It's a bakery in the United States. It's a social enterprise, which is one of the types of companies that we actually discussed earlier. They are adopting the open hiring model, which is one type of the social enterprises. So no question asked, basically. If you want to get hired, no question asked. I will not ask about your capabilities. I will not ask about your background. I don't care if you are a criminal who have been convicted already and went to prison. I will hire anyone on my list. طيب هل هذا الشيء كويس ولا مو كويس؟ It turned out to be great for them at least. In the United States, طبعا each context is different, but there it was great. It lowered the overall hiring costs because you really don't need to do anything. You just take their names and get them hired. No background checks, no nothing else. Lower turnover rates. أغلب الناس اللي كانوا موجودين عندهم are ex-convicted people. So if I got a job in this enterprise, I will definitely not think about going out of that business because I will not find a job anywhere else. So they achieved 33% turnover compared to 42 average of the national level. The third one is lower burden on the government. Those people that are actually hired are not only not taking any social services from the government, they're actually paying taxes. So I did good for the government, I did good for myself, I started lowering my costs, everyone is happy. So this is how you actually take your ESG initiatives, and this is how you actually implement them. You do good to the world and you do good to yourself. طبعا they have a saying, or their motto is we don't hire people to bake brownies, we bake brownies to hire people. So it's actually a social enterprise. It's for profit, but the profit are going to be reinvested in the business for growth and for hiring more people. طبعا the percentages of ex-convicts going back to prison in that small town dropped by 40%, which is really great. طبعا Grayson Bakery مو بيكري صغير، ترى Grayson Bakery is the main manufacturer for Ben & Jerry ice cream. So the brownies that come in Ben & Jerry are being made by Grayson Bakery. So it's really a big B2B company. That's it when it comes to the actual presentation. So if you have any questions, please go ahead. تفضل.
extremely insightful and I can already see يعني applications في المشروع اللي شغالين عليه. I have a lot of questions حاخذها معك on the side. بس يمكن I'm interested في الستراتيجي ماتريكس.
Yes.
The one that you explained. هي والسلايد اللي بعدها.
Yes.
But there are different types of خلينا نقول contributing to the ESG.
Yes.
When it comes لاستراتيجية قطاع أو زي مشروعنا. Is there an area we should be aiming towards إنه والله نقول let's take our الاستراتيجية قطاع to be for example in that quadrant and then what would be the applications من ناحية governance and policy making على الستراتيجي frameworks اللي حطينا if there are any.
If you're actually doing your I thought about this idea before, you're not actually applicable on that grid. However, you are aiming to influence companies to be on that grid as a national strategy. So you want people operating in Saudi Arabia as a private sector to be on the show and tell, the keep quiet, rather than taking the load. So by incentivizing, by raising awareness, by all of those things, but you're not actually sitting on that grid yourself.
ممتاز. This is actually the right answer is إنه this quadrant I'm aiming for, then what should I be doing in terms of strategy, in terms of policy making, in terms of
100%.
subsidies, etc.
100%.
ممتاز.
Anything else? بسمة ايش رايك we take it offline؟ لازم تحشر لي دحين.
دحين اشتغل. بالنسبة للجرين واشنج دحين احنا طبعا عندنا زي ما انت قلت measuring السستينابيلتي امباكت حقك والاكتيفيتيز عن طريق الجي ار اي وهدول كل البلاتفورمز الثانيه. Is this enough to prove انه I'm not greenwashing ولا في steps ثانيه لازم اسويها عشان اتاكد انه whatever I'm doing it's impactful and it's not greenwashing?
Again, it based on your place on those quadrants.
Okay.
So if you are on show and tell,
okay,
then you should not only take care of those indices, you have to put higher standards on yourself to make sure that ما في اي مدخل عليك من الناس من الميديا او من الصحافه او من اي احد ممكن يدخل لك من ناحيه انه والله شوف okay you might be actually doing great when it comes to indices بس ممكن شيء مره بسيط يصير في المانيفاكتشرنج بلانت يصيدوه يصوروه يطلعوه في الميديا. So you have to take higher standards on yourself.
طيب بالنسبة لكيس ستاديز ثانية I saw about ESG. One of the main things to focus on as part of sustainability is transparency.
Yes.
طيب وكثير هذا طبعا انت عارف زي ما انت قلت انه ESG has been recently رجال فوكس عليه مع الكلايمت تشينج مع باريس وكل الاشياء اللي صارت بالذات في كوفيد. ف transparency يعني انت قلت انه we have to make sure not to the media or مثلا be very careful of the information that we share. Transparency is part of sustainability.
Yes.
يعني لو سويت اغلاط المفروض part of it و this was يعني proven انه these cases made the company successful. انه انا والله تعلمت و I'm applying ESG يعني gradually مو
yes.
مرة واحدة.
yes.
ف برضو so انت بتقولي انه the monitoring والmedia has to be aligned somewhat to make sure that ما يكون في أي greenwashing في الموضوع.
طيب في two parts to your second question here. So there are pros and cons for each one of them. And when you said transparency, 100%. However, being transparent with whom? Being transparent with your board and being transparent with all people that are actually measuring the indices. You make sure that you don't cover any viable information to measure. This is part of transparency. Bragging about it to the media is something else. So saying that I'm doing great to the media is not part of being transparent. You might run your own company. However, nobody from the general public knows about you. However, المجتمعات concerned, like people who track indices, your board, the government, you're being transparent in reporting and you're actually not covering any details.
تمام. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there someone else? Suhaib?
Thank you, Hatem.
أهلا وسهلا.
Are the banks and the financial institutions here in Saudi enforcing ESG standards?
Not yet.
It's only global for now.
Yes. في some practices like they're requiring for sustainability reports. However, ما وصلت لمرحلة إنه it actually affects your interest rate, it affects your rating as a company listed. Not yet.
What would be for the firms for companies to adopt this? Is there a government?
Government. So غالبا إذا الgovernment did not put policies in place, يعني هو one of your 7 stakeholders that I said before. If none of them is actually putting any pressure on you, which is employees, customer, government, license to operate, globalization, all those 7, إذا ما في أي أحد putting pressure زي ما قاعد يصير اليوم في السعودية, nobody's going to care. Yes.
Now it's even, I'm not sure if it's mandatory or not, it's a prerequisite before going IPO, or it's one of the parameters that are being taken into consideration for any company before going public. Is it applied here in Saudi or we don't know?
Me personally صراحة I don't know if it's being applied قبل ال IPO or not, but what I know for a fact إنه في sustainability reporting بينطلب. بس إيش بيصير فيه is it going to affect أي شيء ما أعرف. I don't know.
Maybe at least it affects the score of accepting your application. Maybe I'm not
maybe.
sure.
صراحة I don't know.
Yes.
في السعودية.
It has to. Huh?
بس في السعودية هذا كلام. اوكي. Fair enough.
Yeah, and I heard that. So I wasn't sure.
ما أعرف صراحة.
Okay.
Anyone else? هشام.
تقولها على المايك.
أحد أونلاين عنده أي سؤال؟
يسمعوني في الرياض.
عندكم أي سؤال زوم؟
بس أي أحد يقول لا يا شباب عشان ما نجي نستنى.
الله يعطيكم العافية.
تمام بس بناخذ صورة.
أنا عندي سؤال حاتم إذا تسمح لي.
سامع عبد العزيز.
الله يعطيك العافية وشيء مرة شكرا حقيقة.
الله يعافيك.
جميل. طيب أنا بس موضوع شفت في البداية موضوع اللي هو الفيزيبيليتي والمصداقية وإنه الناس تصدق هالشيء وكذا. الآن looking back السنوات الماضية وكذا تتذكرون يمكن الميديا خلال 10 و15 يمكن 20 سنة كان في كلام على نفس اللي تفضلت فيه الآن كأمثلة إنه في مدن حتغرق لندن نيويورك مدري إيش وكان actually فيه ديتس مختلفة في هذاك الوقت. كانوا يتكلمون إنه ديت يمكن أقرب اليوم يعني ما أدري اللي هي around 20 something كانوا يقولون في الطعاشات 2020 أو 2030 شيء زي كذا. ف يعني how can we again believe such يعني examples إذا هي فعلا كان لها أنا حسب ما أتذكر طبعا أعرف الميديا I don't know about the resources في الميديا بشكل عام لكن حسب ما أتذكر كانت الميديا تتكلم عن نفس الشيء إن في مدن حتغرق في certain year اللي هي كانت I think قريبة بالوقت اللي إحنا فيه الآن حتى هي الظاهر previously كانوا يقولون في سنوات معينة في 2015 و 2018 وكذا. فهنا certainty about it في كلام عن الموضوع هذا how can people فعلا يعني believe هذه التوقعات أو الassumption.
Okay. If I understood your question correctly, أبو عليا, you're asking about over promising, صح؟
اي بالضبط، انه اليوم زي ما اقول لك، انا بنفسي اتذكر انه كان في كلام على انه في مدن حتغرق في 20، كانوا يقولون 20 و 2030 شيء زي كذا. الان انت زي ما قلت في مدن ممكن لا سمح الله ممكن تغرق اذا استمر الوضع كما هو في 2100.
اوكي.
you see what I mean انه is it realistic؟ هل هم they are changing حسب يعني فهمت في بارامتر معينه تتغير، في معطيات تتغير؟
يس هو في الاخير ما في اجابه certain. those are assumptions and simulations بناء على اشياء موجوده اليوم قاعده تصير. كل ما تتغير الكرايتيريا حقت السيموليشن هذه ممكن يتغير الشيء اللي راح يصير. ففي الاخير they're trying to do their best to know ايش ممكن يصير. however that's not 100% accurate. ممكن بعد 10 سنين 15 سنه يجيك واحد ثاني يقول لك you know what, no, this is not what's going to happen, this is what's going to happen based on different assumptions, a set of assumptions and criteria for that study. So هذه ما هي اشياء 100% accurate. however what you take منها as a take out انه those are things that are going to happen. متى؟ في 2100 في 2200 ما في accurate answer towards that. كل اللي موجود studies, but you need to take that road to actually start to implement those initiatives. لأن في الأخير ترى في يعني توصل point in time where those impacts are irreversible. You don't really want to take that chance. Yeah, I hope that answered.
fair very clear. الله يعطيك العافية.
طب في عندي سؤال، يمكن السؤال هذا انت الان طلعت وتعلمت اشياء كثير في الموضوع الاي اس جي والسستينابيلتي. You have many reflections. There are personal reflections and there are يعني reflections related to corporate or work. فايش خلينا نقول the three key things that you believe on a personal level you can think differently about بعد ما رجعت. الشيء الثاني at a pure group level, what are the three key things that you thought could be great initiatives to start?
صراحة I did not think about initiatives to pursue here on a corporate level, but I started to look at things differently. So for example, consumption. Being good to environment is not only by adopting الأشياء المعروفة, it's by lowering your consumption. So instead of going to clothes shopping كل شهرين, you go to clothes shopping كل 4 شهور. لأنه actually this consumption is affecting. يعني إذا صار هذا الشيء you will slash the carbon footprint emissions by half. So being worried about your consumption is something that I learned. الشيء الثاني في unnecessary things that we're actually using. So for example plastic water bottles. ليش plastic water bottles؟ ليش مو glass؟ خلاص كل واحد معاه glass and there is a water dispensing machine. ففي اشياء صغيره يعني you really don't understand why you are doing it, you can just switch it كذا. But just because it's not top of our heads, we're not thinking about it, or we're not worried about what are the consequences اللي بنسوي.
At home
نفسها يعني نفس الشيء. So يعني قبل كذا كان الكراتين المويه البلاستيك كانت يعني نشتريها بكميات مره كبيره and we still do the same.
They love this. I think the main purpose of Pure Talk is definitely sharing knowledge.
Yes.
And how can we really embrace what we talk about in our life? And I love this point of how can we take the learnings from this course. ما شاء الله واضح إنه we have many team members. بس ما يعني obviously she has passion about the sustainability, the environment. How can we come up with طبعا كده وأقول full strategy بس some initiatives as a start. As Pure Group, we start embracing this. Not to show, not يعني to brag about, لكن فعلا we live what we talk about.
100% لأنه as part of providing those services. يعني ممكن الآن عندنا مشروع مع وزارة الطاقة around sustainability. If إن شاء الله future projects came around the same topic, you need to walk the talk at the end of the day. يعني ما ينفع تكون أنت as a consulting services provider you're not doing anything about it, and you're actually preaching about it to different people. And that's one of the things that the IAC business school is actually doing. So they started adopting it themselves. لما قالوا لك ما ينفع احنا نعطي sustainability courses ويجونا الناس واحنا يعني we're not adopting any of those initiatives. So I believe yes, we need to work towards that thing.
طيب يعني هشام and the LT, if you agree, we can nominate a team to become our يعني sustainability champion and to put a plan. I believe definitely حاتم وبسمة, and if anyone else wants to join, and just a core team.
Sure.
And let's put a plan. We start taking it.
Absolutely, definitely. اي هذه يعني
use the bottles used to recycle the bottles two ways. الكابس يستخدموها الحال والبطل شيء ثاني. يجوا شركات ياخذوها مننا ويسووا تايرز للويل تشير يستخدموها في مثلا بلاستيك الملاعق والشوك. They used to use this حتى ستيبل ايفر ستيبل. الستيبل ما كان يرموا الستيبل يجمعوها قد كذا الحديد يتجمع مغناطيس يجمع الستيبلز ويطلعوا منها anything they can use the lights. فاحنا we can start with the bottles here just if حطينا في الممرات وفي اي مكان في المكاتب small box just to recycle the caps and the bottle by itself. And then someone can take it and utilize it.
And what you're saying, this is one thing. Branded glasses. اغلب
بس مشكله الجلاسز والهذه فيها مشكله انه نغسلها والنظافه والسوق والاشياء. exactly.
And definitely this is part of carbon and circular economy, which is one of the really big things that are happening within the environment. And if we zoomed in into what are the initiatives that are being taken, this is one of those things, carbon and circular economy. It's being actually adopted by Saudi Arabia on a very high note. حق الناس yes حق الناس and financially also.
طيب انا عندي يمكن تعليق more than a question. I believe انه ما شاء الله تبارك الله we are lucky انه عندنا مشروع الان مع وزاره الطاقه that can really يعني make us a pioneer صراحه في الكونسلتنج اندستري as a local firm to really have an impact when it comes to sustainability ولا ESG in general على مستوى المملكه. This is an excellent opportunity صراحه لنا to show the potential with our clients and then adopting it internally.
100%. 100%. الحين الصورة يا شهد استعجلك انت.
طيب على النهاية بس حابين نشكر حاتم الغامدي على very rich knowledge you have shared with us. Thank you again. صورة.
اوكي الله يعطيك. Thank you so much.
بإذن الله.
طيب how do you want to approach الصورة؟
بس الناس جالسين
ايوه اجلس انا لابس حغطيكم. ما ينفع والله. اوكي شفت كيف؟ انس اختفى. صورت وايد كثير. اوقف هنا ورا. دكتور الجامعة احس. ايه شكرا جزيلا. الله يعافيك. ايه تفضل يا